Hello and welcome to Coffee with Jenny B. It's conversations over coffee. It's about community, connections, what brings me joy, and everything in between. I'm your host, Jenny Sacco-Bak. Who doesn't love a good story? I remember as a child and someone would start with once upon a time, and you knew that it was going to be a magical story. It was going to be a story that transported you into a different realm, a different universe. And stories do matter because they offer that emotional connection. It can make you laugh and cry, maybe sometimes at the same time, but it's an opportunity to lose yourself in the magic, forget about what's going on in the world, and just enjoy the moment. My guest today is someone who also loves stories and who's going to be telling us a little bit about stories. Her name is Rachel E. Smith. She's an actor, producer, director, and, as I mentioned, a lover of all stories. Please help me welcome Rachel. Hey, Rachel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm glad that you are here to tell us everything about what you've been doing and also telling us a little bit about stories. So let's maybe start there. What got you interested in wanting to either tell stories or have others tell stories?
Well, I have also always loved stories. I've loved the theater. I've always wanted to be an actor. I love stories and storytelling and sharing stories and being part of other people sharing stories. And I love coaching people to help them to share their stories. And so I think that it's just always been something that I've been drawn to. And I've always loved fairy tales as well. When you were talking about the Once Upon a Time, yeah. I've always loved all kinds of fairy tales too. So it's something that's just always been part of me.
Oh, I love that. And it's the magic, I think, because magic is all around us, but sometimes we don't take a chance to really see it or we don't want to see it. And so then when you are transported into, whatever's going on, it feels like you're part of that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Yeah. To me, stories are a way to just kind of, like, sometimes it can be a little bit of an escape from the everyday life, but sometimes it can also be a way to connect with other people. When you hear a personal story, it's a way to connect with that person, whether it's a moment of you saying, oh my gosh, like, that's me, I've had that experience, or whether it's, I can't believe somebody has lived through this, I can't believe somebody has had this experience. And so I think stories are magical in just so many ways. And one thing that I really love about stories is the ability to connect people.
Mm-hmm. And the connection is so important, especially now. I think back, when it was, our mothers and our grandmothers, women got together, and while they were doing whatever it was, whether it was knitting or making pierogies or, washing clothes, whatever it was a chance to get together and tell those stories. And it's passing down those stories from, grandmother to mother to daughter and so on and so forth. And I don't know that we get those opportunities to really get together in that way and sharing those stories. So when you do have that opportunity to either be part of a book club, which, to be honest, it's really never about the book. But it's a chance to get together and have some wine or, whatever your beverage is, and just to share and catch up with each other. And so I find that those moments when you can get together with your girlfriends or, your family, it's an opportunity to kind of lose yourself and even just kind of sit back and, okay, I'm ready to hear your story.
Storytelling is still part of our culture and our communities. It's just in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think that now we do need to put a little bit more of an effort into creating opportunities to share those stories. And so one of the things that I want to do and that I try to do and work to do is to create those opportunities to share stories.
Now, I know that you have your own production company, Ce-Lee Productions, And do you offer that opportunity to tell stories, or to have your, I guess when you're an educator as well, having your students tell those stories?
So with my work with my own production company, with Ce-Lee Productions, I think that the way that I encourage others to tell their stories is usually through the education that I do. So I teach acting classes for all ages. Most of my acting classes are for kids, and allowing them the opportunity to use their imagination to create stories. In almost every class I teach, they create their own stories and they work together. And I think that that's really important. Those are important skills to learn, but also it's just fun. It gives them the opportunity to be creative, to use their imaginations. And then in terms, like I teach adults as well, but I do performance coaching for people who want to share stories, and I help them to share their story, because sharing a story, especially when it's personal, can be really nerve-wracking. It can be very scary. And especially if you're someone who maybe English isn't your first language, or you aren't comfortable public speaking, I always strive to help people to be able to share their story for a public audience. And I work with them and help them to build confidence in that. So in terms of creating opportunities for other people, that's what I strive to do with my company.
I love that. And it's very similar to what I do. I mean, I don't teach acting, but as an instructor who teaches international students, it's giving them that safe space. It's letting them know it doesn't matter. I know we're all going to be nervous, but just speak from the heart, speak from an authentic story. Like, again, back to stories. Tell me your story. I want to hear it in your voice. Don't pretend that you're something else, because whenever we stop, I mean, acting is one thing, and if you're deliberately doing that, you're playing a role, and so you're all invested in that role. But if you're telling a story about something that you may not necessarily be involved in or invested in, it doesn't quite come across as authentic. And so it's really telling your story.
I always want to help to encourage people to share their stories. And I think, like, I know that we're going to talk about the StoryBridge as well. And one of the things that I'm really excited about with the StoryBridge network is that stories are at the heart of it. That's why it's called the StoryBridge. And it is about using stories in order to build communities, to connect with communities, to give people the opportunities to explore their own stories and to also hear other people's stories as well.
Speaking of StoryBridge, which is a nice segue into introducing that, how did you get involved with that?
So the StoryBridge network was started by Pat Lee Creary, and I connected with her a few years ago, I think 2023. We worked on the Shoe Project Winnipeg together. Pat Lee was the writing mentor and I was the performance coach. And so what the Shoe Project was newcomer women who were sharing stories about their experiences in coming to Canada, and the theme was shoes. And so Pat Lee helped them to write their stories, and then I helped them with the public speaking and performance portion. So they worked with her for a few weeks, or several weeks actually, and then they worked with me for a time, and so that's the first time that we worked together. And then the participants in the project shared their stories to a public audience. The following year, we were both involved in a similar project called Pathways: Stories of How We Got Here. A writing mentor from performance coach. This time we were both more involved in the planning process. And then Pat Lee started her own company, the StoryBridge Network. And she talked to me about it before, when she'd first started been thinking about it. And I told her, very interested, like, please keep me involved. And then when she was ready to start this company, she asked me if I would be a founding board member. And I've never sat on a board before. I can't say that I ever planned on it, but I really believe in this company, in what Pat Lee has a vision for. I believe in her vision. I have the same vision. And her and I are often on the same page. And I really I'm excited to be part of it and to be involved in how this company is going to grow.
Oh, that's lovely. And I love how you're on the same page, because sometimes you have artistic differences, right? And you're not always able to find a compromise, right? And I love, instead of compromising, it's collaborating, because then you both have that vision, and you see the potential in terms of how this can really engage the community, engage the audience. And it's a nice kind of transition between what you started in terms of the shoebox project, then the pathways, and so now taking all of that, and then now putting all that energy and that experience and knowledge into StoryBridge.
We will be, or we are offering a similar kind of program, one that we actually happening in Selkirk, the Newcomer Storytelling Cafe, which is a similar kind of model, but because Pat Lee and I are running it, it is a little bit different this time around, and also very exciting. So instead of using an artifact, they have created trees. They've drawn trees, and then they took a moment that was a turning point in their life to write a story about a turning point. And so this is the kind of programming that we're offering, but it's not just that. We also we are expanding it, so we're serving newcomers, seniors, youth, and people who have experienced displacement or homelessness. And so our goal is to create opportunities for building community, and sometimes it might be for a public performance, but sometimes it might just be a storytelling circle where people get together and tell stories. Like I know that we've had a senior storytelling circle, and we're hoping to host more where it's seniors getting together and telling just stories. Exactly what you were saying before, just creating those opportunities. And so, you know, we're really expanding the programming with what we're offering with that.
I love that. I wonder, would you ever think of bringing seniors and youth together? Because the youth, of course, have no knowledge of, you know, a rotary dial phone, for instance, or a fax machine. You know, what the heck is that, right? So talking about, you know, back in my day, we did blah, 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 and then having them learn about some of the history of things that maybe, and you know, there's that expression, what's old is new, because what was old before is now new again. And you see, you know, people wearing bell bottoms, for instance, or, you know, doing some of the crazy things that, you know, I did as a teenager, right?
I think that there is a plan for that at some point. It is a new company. It was just started this year. And so the Selkirk Storytelling Cafe is our first big project, and then we have another project that is our fundraising event, and that is our first big project in Winnipeg. And so it is still a new company, and I know that there's so many things we want to do, but we have to, like, one step at a time.
You know, absolutely, because I think if you take on too much at the same time, it may be more work versus something that you're passionate about, and you see that vision of how you're bringing the community and everyone together. So I like the idea that you are taking things one step at a time. You know, doing the event in Selkirk, okay, let's see how that's working. And then your fundraiser, I think is a great idea, because I worked in the nonprofit world for 10 years, and so I know that a lot of it is about awareness. So letting people know, first of all, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and then if people know the reason behind it and the purpose and how they can get involved, it really brings them together and getting that support for the fundraiser. So tell us a little bit more about that fundraiser.
Sure. So it's going to be an afternoon of storytelling and music. So we have two musical guests, the Roots and Harmony Choir and Ukulele Filipino Club.
Ooh.
So those are our two musical groups. And then we have four storytellers, Jenilyn Navarro, Mariam Yidi, and Jeanette Perez. and Matthew Mora. And so the three women, they were all participants of the Pathways project that Pat-Lee and I worked on.
Okay.
And so with them, they did artifact storytelling. So they, rather than shoes, like with the shoe project, they have an artifact that was significant to them that they inspired their story. And so they are going to be sharing those stories with us. And then Matthew Mora, he's actually my husband. He wrote a novel, and it's his first time ever writing a novel. And his book is about the trying to be accepted.
Okay.
And it's a high fantasy novel, and it's about two sorcerers in a world where magic is either hated or revered. And so it's about their experiences in trying to fit in, or like trying to deal with how they don't fit in.
Okay.
And so he was really wanted to be able to showcase a little bit of his work. And so he's reading an excerpt of that. So I'm happy that I could give him the opportunity to, to do that. But I know that with the three women who are sharing, it does exemplify the kind of work that we do and that we want to continue to do. And I mean, like one story, Jenna Lynn's is about a graduation cap when she, after moving to Canada, went to school at Red River College. Mariam, her story is about a tree, a source of protection and a sustenance for them when they're in a difficult situation. And then Jeanette's is a ukulele. And she actually started the Ukulele Filipino Club. So we're hearing her story, but then we're also seeing the work that she does that is an extension of what she's been able to do to build community as well. So it's very community oriented and very supportive. Like, I'm just so excited for it. And I think like people who attend the event, it will be a cozy afternoon. It's the first Saturday in December, so you can snuggle up and listen to some stories, hear some music, and it'll be just a really lovely day.
Oh, it sounds lovely. It sounds amazing. And I love that you've involved so many participants and of course your husband, and I'm sure he must be thrilled to be part of that. But just, hearing you explain a little bit about what each person is going to be offering, it sounds just like a magical afternoon of, like you say, cozy up and just sit back and enjoy the music and enjoy hearing the stories. And I love the idea of the two sorcerers, the whole idea of, each one, I guess, is either part of the hated or the revered, and then trying to, I'm all for that.
Well, I'll let them know.
Okay. So when you think about where you started and where you're going now, and I know it's like you say, it's only been a year, right? So what do you see going forward in terms of StoryBridge, and then what do you see sort of next, or do you have an idea of what you want to do next?
Well, with StoryBridge, I think, so I read over Pat-Lee's business plan, and it's quite ambitious. So she has grand ideas for the future.
Okay.
But I think in terms of like next steps, I think that our next steps are about connecting with communities and being able to offer the programming that we want to offer. Because, like one of the reasons for the fundraising event is to be able to go into communities and offer free programming. That we do have paid options,
Right.
but we do want to be able to, we don't want finances to be a barrier for anybody, and we want it to be like a place for people to connect. And so I think that the next steps are about finding those community opportunities and creating those spaces.
Someone said something just this morning, actually. They were talking about their journey coming to Canada, and they said, we come with big dreams, but small budgets. And so the idea of having a fundraiser that is raising money to help those that, want to be a part of it, but maybe don't have the funding, and you don't want to turn anyone away. And so the more fundraising, the more awareness again you can bring to what you're doing, I think is going to make such a difference in the communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big dreams and small budget is the story of my life. I hear it. I hear that person. That's that's the life of an artist for sure. But I know for a lot of people. But, yeah.
But sometimes having small budgets means that you have to be creative in terms of how you can make it work. And it's like, okay, well, we can't get funding, but what else can we do? And gift in kind. So sometimes absolute money is important to help keep your projects running, but then it may be that gift in kind, whether it's items, or it's snacks for your fundraiser, or it's service or time, and that in itself is so valuable, because you're bringing people that have that experience that can take you from this to even something even more than you imagined.
Yeah, for sure. And it like, you're right that it does, you do have to be creative, but it also allows the opportunity for you to reach out and connect with those people.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, with in-kind things, maybe you connect with somebody who you've never met before, but they're offering like their things align.
Yeah.
And so you meet them, and then suddenly they might become like a long-term partner, or just somebody to be in touch with, or like, you never know. And I think that you're right that having those low budgets, the people can become very creative when they want to do something, and they don't have just like I mean, nobody has endless money to back them up. So I think that you're right that it does allow those opportunities.
Yeah, and it helps that you have that passion, and you have that vision of what you want to do, and when you have that vision and that passion and the energy, you can't help but have it spill over, and people get excited by the possibility of what you're doing, and so that just keeps it going, and it gets it bigger and bigger and bigger. And as you were saying about wanting to reach out to all these different communities, because Winnipeg is such a melting pot, if you will, and there's pockets of different communities, and sometimes different communities in the same area, like the west end of Winnipeg. You go down Sargent or Ellis, and you're hitting different restaurants from different regions, different countries, different community centers. Here's a mosque, here's a church. It really doesn't matter. We're all together, and we all seem to be in harmony, which is wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that with the StoryBridge, we also want to be working in rural communities as well. And so Selkirk is one community that we're working in, but that is serving, like, the participants in that project are in Selkirk and outside of Selkirk. And one of the women who's in that project thanked us for coming to Selkirk, because she said that everything's in Winnipeg, and so it's nice to have something there for them. And I know that that's part of the goal, is to be able to connect with other rural communities, and especially there's a lot of newcomers who have come to these small communities in Manitoba, and we want to be able to help them to share their stories and to connect and build community. And so it's not just in Winnipeg, but beyond Winnipeg as well.
Yeah, and sometimes we forget about the rural communities, but they're just as eager for the arts and the culture and the storytelling and just those connections, because sometimes you feel that everything's in Winnipeg, and I feel that we're sort of forgotten. That's just my words. But you also want to make sure that they are included, and getting them excited about wanting to be a part of that community.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the reasons for wanting to offer programming, but also just to be able to build community where they are too.
Yes.
That they don't have to come to Winnipeg to have a community, that they are in a community. And even if they're already part of a community, I think that stories help to bring people closer as well, that it helps to bring understanding and connect in different ways. And so with an existing community there, coming in and bringing even just a storytelling circle might just help to make the bond even stronger, and so anyways, we have lots of those kinds of goals there.
And when you think about a sharing circle, I think about, the Indigenous community, they have their own sharing circle. And a friend of mine, she does like the red thread community where women, you each hold a piece of red thread, and so you're all connected as women. And I love how she invokes, like you're invoking your grandmother and your mother, and that connection together. And you talk about book clubs. We laughed about, well, it's not about the book, but it's getting together. It's an excuse to get together and catch up and just enjoy each other's company and just to show that we care about each other.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. That's really beautiful. Yeah, and I know that you mentioned the pierogi making earlier. On my mom's side, I'm Ukrainian, and I know that was always a big part, especially like coming up to Christmas and stuff. It's getting together, like, all the women and pinching pierogis and chatting, and like, I mean, the men didn't help at that time, but maybe sometimes, but it was like an opportunity, to have that bonding and that story sharing in that way.
Yeah, and you know what? And it's a lot of work, but if you're doing it, like I would never make pierogies by myself because there's no way I'm making dozens. And if you're going to put the work in, you're going to make a lot. So having an opportunity to get together with other women, I remember when my daughter was getting married, getting together and making those fancy sandwiches, right? That's a lot of work because it's like you have a production team, right?
Yeah.
But that's the fun part because everybody has their own role, so to speak. And then if somebody's struggling, it's jumping in and helping them. Yeah, I love that. Fundraiser. Tell us when it is and how we can get involved.
We Are All Stories is happening on Saturday, December 6th at Createful Spaces, which is in the Exchange District. Tickets and more information are online at thestorybridge.ca, and it has all of the information for the event, and tickets can be purchased online there.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm really excited to attend and learn all about it, and you've got all of us and myself interested in hearing about some of the entertainment and the stories and the music that is going to be part of that. So I think it's going to be a really special afternoon.
Thank you. Yeah, I know it will be. I'm very excited, and I mean I'm wearing a lot of hats with this event. I'm the director. I'm the performance coach. I'm on the event planning committee. I'm a board member, and I really care about this project, and I know that it'll be great. I'm really excited for what we have planned for it, and I know that everybody who attends is going to walk away with a smile on their face.
And I know that you have a team behind you that is supporting you. And as a woman, I think we wear many hats anyway. So it's just now wearing hats for something that means so much to you and that's so close to your heart.
I always wear a lot of hats with my own company as well. Actor, director, writer, producer. And teacher. It's that's. But I like doing all of the different things. Like I like having the different focuses, and I think it just keeps things exciting.
Yes, it does. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for being on and sharing your experience and sharing a little bit about all the different projects that you've been involved in, and of course telling us about StoryBridge, and I think that's going to be an exciting afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me, and that I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about these important things.
So this has been Coffee with Jenny B on the Multicultural channel. I'm your host, Jenny Sacco-Bak.